everybody, welcome to A Stylish Life. My name is ShaKayla Diamond. On my channel, we talk about all things fashion, business, lifestyle, and travel. So if you love those things, make sure you subscribe. It's been a while since I made a sit-down video, but today we're going to talk about the Met Gala. We're going to get into who was best dressed, who should stay home, and just some comments and some notes. So let's get into it. If you follow me on Instagram and TikTok, then you know that I already did a review on the Met Gala, but I really just talked about who was best dressed. But for my YouTube, I wanted to go a bit more in depth to really get into the things and talk about how I really felt about this year's Met Gala. But before we go there, let's just, cover the logistics. So if you did not know, this year's exhibit for the Met Gala was focusing on costume art and dressed bodies. So basically how fashion and costume dress the human body. The theme for this year's Met Gala was Fashion is Art. And the co-chairs for this year's Met Gala was Beyonce, Venus Williams, Nicole Kidman, with honorary chairs being Jeff and Laura Bezos. So we got the logistics down, right? Now let's get into a couple of comments that I have about this year's Met Gala. To be honest, I feel like this year you could kind of tell that there was something missing. It just kind of seemed very lackluster. It wasn't too much excitement at this year's Met Gala. It just was missing something, especially compared to last year's Met Gala where we had all of the bells and whistles, but you also know it was focused on Black people and dandyism. And when Black people are involved, we gonna make sure that it's lit, we talking about it, we telling everybody. So maybe that's the difference. But yeah, I just feel like this year compared to last, it just was something missing. It was no excitement surrounding the show before and during. But the show opened with Joshua Henry doing a song with a 12-person choir. They were singing I Wanna Dance With Somebody by Whitney Houston. I feel like I was kind of confused a little bit on just what was going on as a whole. I know he is on Broadway, so I don't know if that was their, that was the art they kind of wanted to focus on, and that's why they chose him. He did a great job, so this is not about him. It's just kind of like what was the reasoning behind the performance and the song choice. So that part I was a little bit confused about, but it could be because he's on Broadway. That's a form of art. I don't know, but I was a little bit confused about that. Like, is it authentic or was it performative? Was the choice of him performative or authentic? So as you heard me mention, Jeff Bezos and his wife, Lauren Bezos, were honorary co-chairs of this year's Met Gala. Now, if you're like me, when you hear that, you're like, why? So him and his wife donated $10 million to this year's Met Gala, which bought them honorary chair seats for this year's Met Gala. And I just feel like that is a prime example of how people are buying their way into the fashion industry. People with money are buying their way into the fashion industry. I feel like there was no place or need for Jeff Bezos or his wife in this year's Met Gala. But if you can tell, Amazon is trying to enter the fashion industry. If you go on Amazon luxury is literally a whole category of shopping on the website. Even down to the fact of fashion influencers heavily promoting Amazon and Amazon links. Now, I have nothing against Amazon fashion. I found a lot of great pieces on there, but as a person that is in the fashion industry, I do feel like they don't have a place in high fashion because it's not even for the right reasons. It's not in support of what is actually going on. I feel like Jeff Bezos sponsoring the Met Gala in the way of donating $10 million is more of trying to enter another market versus actually being interested in fashion. And I just feel like that kind of sets the tone for what's going on, because if your ears are open and you're in the fashion industry, you've seen so many publications or departments within publications have been shut down or bought by bigger companies. And it's just so unfortunate that so many people are losing their jobs. For instance, I think Teen Vogue is no longer in so many other publications. Like, it's kind of getting out of hand. And if you saw The Devil Wears Prada 2, it was showcased in that movie. Like, that's really going on in real life. And I feel like you could feel that energy at the Met Gala. There is a person, a fashion historian kind of, and like a fashion educator. I trust her opinion a lot on Instagram. I've been following her for years, but she made a comment that was very, it like made me raise my eyebrow, because like she hit the nail on the head. Basically, it wasn't as much social and media coverage surrounding the Met Gala, especially leading up to it, because a lot of people have gotten laid off in the fashion industry. Whether you worked for these publications that have been closed, or you worked for PR agencies that are no longer here, like there is a lot of journalists that have lost their jobs, especially Black journalists. So that's why you can see the clear difference between last year's Met Gala and this year's Met Gala. The economy, and it's just like the job market, the atmosphere of the fashion industry is kind of in a weary place right now. And I just feel like, Jeff, we don't need you here. Lauren, we definitely don't need you here. She attended the Met Gala in a Schiaparelli dress, and to me, she just gave baddie, which is nothing wrong with giving baddie, but we didn't need you here. You know, Jeff, he wasn't even there, but we don't need you here. You're not adding anything. You know, this, of course, is an event that's set to raise money for a bigger cause, but it's just like some things we don't need. And of course, everybody is after the money because they're trying to keep the doors open, but you have to find a middle ground of keeping the doors open and staying true to the core values of these companies. And the code has not been cracked yet. But let me get off of my soapbox on how politics are entering fashion and how people are literally constantly losing their jobs. But on another note, I feel like with the attendees, a lot of people missed the mark. Like, it did not get exciting until probably it was an hour left in the red carpet. I was watching the red carpet stream on enews.com and on Vogue, and it did not get interesting until like half of the red carpet was over. I just feel like so many people missed the mark. I feel like I was so excited to see what people were going to do and how they were going to embody the theme, because I felt like fashion is art is such a diverse theme. There's so many things that you could do. Like, I just expected the moon, the stars, like for people to really bring it, because the Met Gala is about the theatrics. So I just really expected people to take it there, with the theme being fashion is art, and they just literally did not. And I don't know what it is. Like, was it the economy? Was it like, because there's so many ways that you can interpret what that means. So I don't feel like it was that hard to kind of grasp or bring together an outfit or a look. What's going on, y'all? Like, I was literally disappointed for half of the red carpet. And of course I had to report on it, because if you don't know, I own a fashion news outlet called Young Stylish Lifestyle on Instagram, where we highlight what Black people contribute to the fashion industry on a daily basis. So of course we were tuned in and we were constantly reporting what Black people were wearing on the red carpet. But it's just like, it was giving nothing. A lot of the people were giving nothing. Now, I won't say that no one did good, because I do have a list of best dress that I am going to mention, but it just could have been better. I expected a lot more. A lot of people, it's like you didn't even read the invitation to know what the theme was. And y'all know this months in advance. So that to me was very disappointing, because I had such high expectations on what people were going to do, and they just did not. And of course, every year it's a lot of people who don't do what they're supposed to do, but I feel like so many looks from other years were way better than the looks from this year, and they fit the theme way better than, like, they fit the theme of this year even better than the themes that the people wore the looks in, you know? Like, the girls just like, what's going on? Where y'all at? Like, where's the team? But people don't have jobs. People are not trying to spend their money and doing all of that. People are coming to show up because they, gotta be here. People are coming here because, like, I think maybe people's minds are just not focused on the fashions, and that's why they were lacking. So I'm gonna give them grace and just say that that's what it was. But it was like, next. Like, I just feel like there's so much different art that could have been used as a reference for some amazing looks. And I think that's why I was so excited, because I'm a fashion girl, but I'm an art girl too. And also, when it came to Black people, I was so excited to see what Black art was going to be depicted on the red carpet. And like, people just missed the mark. It's so much old art, new art, just so many different references of inspiration that could have been utilized for some really, really great looks. But maybe one day the girls will get it. And even though I'm saying there are people who were disappointing, I'm not really about to go into who was worst dressed in this video. I just feel like there was no need. You probably can, take a quick look and find out who wasn't the best. And we know that majority of the people weren't. So we're not really gonna talk about that. But let's get into those that I feel like did a good job. So first up is Yasut. She is a music artist from, I believe, London. And I didn't know who she was, but I knew when I seen her on the red carpet that her look ate. Like, definitely one of the best dressed on the carpet. But she had on a Harris Reed look, and she was styled by KJ Moody. Her look was exceptional, and I loved the people who combined the dressed bodies theme as well as the fashion is art theme together, and kind of had their look be art that was like a sculpted body. Like, I love the fusion of the two themes into an amazing look, and she did that really, really well. Next is Janelle Monáe. Her look was by Christian Siriano. She was definitely someone I was super excited to see, because every year she kills it, and we all know that Janelle Monáe can dress. But her look was kind of like a motherboard of a computer with like butterflies coming off of it. I just feel like it was so unique, so different, and exceptional. I expected nothing less of her. Next is Rihanna. She had on a Maison Margiela by Glenn Martin look, and of course I loved it. She looked great. I did see some people saying that they did not like it, but you just don't know fashion, because if you know anything about fashion, you expected to see some Margiela on that red carpet. Honestly, let's take a slight pause, because I do want to get into this. Now, on one of the videos I made on my Instagram and TikTok, I talked about what I was expecting to see on the red carpet. And some of the designers that I mentioned was vintage Alexander McQueen. I wanted to see some Margiela. I wanted to see some Christian Siriano. I wanted to see some Harris Reed, some John Galliano, some Delara, some Ashley Studios, there was a couple more, but those were most of the designers that I wanted to see, because they do art and fashion really well. Also Schiaparelli, like, they do art and fashion really well. So those are what I wanted to see, and thank God they were on the carpet. But back to our list. Oh, also Mugler, like, I was expecting for them to come out to play, and they did. So I said Rihanna and Margiela. T, loved it. Margiela knows how to do art and fashion. Like, everything that will come down the runway on a Margiela show is literal art, a literal masterpiece with so many different elements into the look. So love that. Next was Jeremy Pope. He had on a rendition of the fall 1996 Vivienne Westwood corset jacket, and I loved it. He was styled by Law Roach, but he did add some detailing on the back of like whip scars and whip markings that would be like, let's say, on a slave after being whipped, and I absolutely love that. Of course, the whole jacket is beaded, so in the back, to kind of showcase the scars, they use red beads to make it like it was scars, of course, but like blood hanging off. I loved it. Next was Emma Chamberlain in Mugler. She was actually one of the first people to hit the red carpet, and I loved her look. It was definitely art. It was effortless. It was definitely high fashion. Like, I loved the look. Next is Sabine Getty. She is a, I believe, a Swiss jewelry designer. I had never heard of her before the Met Gala, but her look ate. She had on a Ashy Studios couture look, and I loved it. It was so effortless, but the art was there. And with her being a jewelry designer and her dress having the two hands on it and showcasing the emerald green ring, like, I loved it. Next was Doechii and Marc Jacobs. She looked like a goddess, like a literal goddess. And I loved her look. The fact that she didn't have shoes on, like, that's definitely a Doechii thing. People were acting like this is the first time we seen Doechii barefoot, and it's not. But I loved her look. I loved the glam. I loved how her look was different than everybody else's, and I loved it. Next is Louisa Jacob. She's actually the daughter of Meryl Streep, and she had on a Dollara look. I feel like her look looked like armor, and that is prevalent in a lot of like European traditional art, and I loved her look. Next is Chase Infinity. She had on Tom Brown. Her look, I love the colors. I love how her makeup and hair was very simplistic. I love that the look was basically a painted body. Like, it was very simple and to the point, but it was beautiful. Next is Naomi Osaka. She wore a Robert One look, and Robert One is actually another one of the designers that I mentioned that I wanted to see at the Met Gala, because if you've seen any of his shows, all of his looks are art. It's literally like his shows are like an art gallery meets a fashion show. So I was definitely expecting to see him on the red carpet, and I did. And her look was exceptional. She had on, I think I'm not sure which collection it's from, but it's a recent collection. But she had on the hat, the coat, and when she got to the Met Gala, she took off the coat and had on the dress that was basically kind of like a body on the dress, but it was exceptional. I loved everything about it. I also love a 2-in-1 look. When it comes to the Met Gala, we've seen Gaga do that many times before, and I absolutely love Naomi Osaka's look. I love that she's really stepping into fashion, because we keep seeing sports and fashion collide, and I loved everything about her look. Next is going to be the supermodel Anak. Her look, she was literally one of the top best dressed. Like, this list that I'm naming off, this is not in order. This is just the list of people that I feel like did a really good job. But she is definitely top 5. Like, her look, she truly committed. And I love when somebody commits to a theme with their hair, their makeup, the outfit, because it's all, like, it all contributes to the final product, and she gets it. She had on a Balenciaga look, and she was basically a statue. Like, I loved everything about it. Like, whoever was her team to come up with her look for this year's Met Gala, they absolutely ate. Like, she was like a bronze statue, and that's what I mean by there was so many different ways that you could imitate the theme and to like decide what you were going to wear and how like you were going to infiltrate the art into your fashion. And I just feel like her look was so out the box, it was so unique, and it was still done so effortlessly. Like, if you looked up close on her Zoom, her whole face was bronze and her hair, but she also had tears in her glam. Like, excellent, like 10s across the board. Literally, she was in Balenciaga and literally 10s across the board. Like, I have no notes about her look. Next is someone by the name of Yuchi. She is a tech investor. She had on Jean Paul Gaultier. I really loved her look. She had on a white gown that, from a distance, if you seen her from the side, the silhouette of the dress looked like a swan. But when you look at the dress from the front, it actually was a miniature dress in the front that had wings and the wings hung out on the side of the dress that she was wearing as well. Like, it was so beautiful. I feel like it was so just effortless and ethereal, and it was white, so the look had details, but it just, I don't know, it wasn't too much and it wasn't too little. It was just enough, and I feel like her glam complemented it so well. Like, it was perfect. Next is someone by the name of Karan Johar. He had on a Manish Malhotra look. I love that so many people were showcasing their culture and their looks. And he's an Indian man, and he had on an Indian designer, and he was kind of depicting their Indian art. And I loved everything about that, from his cape that he had on to the blazer that was underneath it. Like, I absolutely loved it. Next, Heidi Klum. Now, she came as literally a statue, but not in the way that Anak came in a statue. She really committed to it. Like, it's like she had on a full-blown costume, like she was covered in clay or something. But I did watch the live stream, and she was saying how her look was like soft. Like, she wasn't hard. Like, looking at her, you would think she was in clay and it was hard, but like, it wasn't. And even though so many people had so much to say, like, oh, this is a costume, this and that, I appreciate it. She's known for doing this, and I felt like it was something different to add to the event. I feel like it was a different twist on the theme, and I liked it, not gonna lie. Next is Beyonce. Now, we know that Beyonce has not been to a Met Gala in 10 years. So this was her first time being there, and she showed up with Blue and with Jay-Z. And I love to see that. Like, I was actually very excited to see what both Beyonce and Jay-Z were going to wear to the Met Gala. And I was honestly not anticipating Jay-Z coming, but I definitely was not anticipating Blue attending, and this was her first Met Gala. But all three of them attended. It was literally a family affair. If you were on those steps when they were about to come, you got moved out the way. And if you were there after they were done, they wasn't really worried about you. The paparazzi wasn't really worried about you, because they were still trying to get Beyonce, Jay-Z, and Blue. But Beyonce had on a look by Olivier, and she was styled by Ty Hunter. I'm loving how for the past couple of months he has been back on her team styling her. If you don't know, he was her stylist during Destiny's Child, but especially the years after, and he's kind of spinning the block and back on her team, and I love to see that. Also, I was excited to see what she was going to do, because not only has she not attended in 10 years, but she came back as a co-chair for this year. And of course, it's been rumors about Act 3 coming out. So we're all just kind of like, ooh, what is she going to do? What's going to happen? You know? So I loved it. I did like her look. I feel like once I found out what the inspiration was behind the look, I liked it even more. It was a work of art by a artist from Louisiana, and it was kind of like a skeleton piece. So that's why on her dress, it was a skeleton on the front of her dress and on the gloves. And I loved her feather train. I feel like trains always eat at the Met Gala, especially because of the stairs. And when people do a train, it's tens across the board. So I loved it. Her second look inside of the Met Gala, she changed into a couture Robert I look, and I love that too. I honestly will say that I kind of like the second look better than the first. But I was so happy to see Beyonce, and girl, we still waiting to see what you got up your sleeve, because we know it's something. So next is Sabrina Carpenter. She had on a Dior look, and her look was actually made out of real like movie film, and I really liked that. I felt like it was different. I think the film was the element that made the look. I don't feel like really anything else about the look was like that spectacular, but the fact that it was made out of film, I think that that was a very nice touch. Next is Ayo Edabrimi. If I'm pronouncing that wrong, I apologize. But she had on a Chanel look, and I loved how beautiful and effortless the look was. Her look was kind of giving the illusion that birds were kind of holding onto the fabrics of her dress. And I feel like that kind of reminds you, it gives you like a Cinderella vibe to me. But I really liked her look. Next, Kylie Jenner had on a Schiaparelli look, and basically it was like, think of course I'm gonna have pictures, but think of what Tyla wore to last year's Met Gala, and her look was kind of, I think it was a Balmain look. It was like made of sand, but it was to her body, but you could see, of course, like the sculpting of the body. So that's how the top half of Kylie's look was, and like a dress was kind of hanging off of it as if like you took your dress off. I think it was a really nice look. It was effortless. It was still along the lines of something that she would have on, but it was still art, and it had different elements to it that I felt really completed the look. And like I told y'all, Schiaparelli is not going to disappoint when it comes to the art and fashion mixture. So love that look. Now, let's get into some looks that were cute and they were nice and I liked them, but they did not fit the theme, because there were a good amount of those. First up, Tiana Taylor. And I love TT. Everything she does is exceptional. Last year, her look was exceptional. But I feel like her look this year, which was a Tom Ford look, it was great. But to me, it just didn't match the theme of art. And even if she was inspired by a particular art piece, I feel like I could have seen her do a lot more to really like grasp the theme. Next is Zoe Kravitz. Her look was nice, but it could have had more to it. It was a Yves Saint Laurent lace look that had some additional design elements around the hip area to kind of make it protrude out. But I just feel like it didn't really give me too much. She looked good, but Next is Tyla. She had on a Valentino look. I just feel like the look was beautiful, but I feel like she kind of gives us the same thing over and over, just different variations. Now, her look last year was tea. Amazing. Fully captured the theme. But the look this year, it's just, I just kind of feel like we always get the same look from her. It's giving body and fabric, and I just feel like we could have, got a little more. Next is Cardi B. She had on a Marc Jacobs look, and I feel like her look was kind of shining light on plastic surgery is what I feel like, because I feel like it was body parts in a bigger perspective. But I just feel like I kind of expected more from her. Like, the look was not bad, but it just didn't really do it for me, so I could have definitely seen her in something a little bit different. I also expected more from Doja Cat. So Doja Cat had on a full silicone look by Yves Saint Laurent, and we all know that Doja Cat kills a look, whether it's for a music video, a performance, a shoot, a cover, even an event, a carpet. She kills a look. But this, I just feel like it fell flat. Like, I feel like she could have kept the idea of her whole look being a skin tone silicone, but we could have had more. We could have done more, especially with the theme being fashion is art and, dressed bodies. I think she was trying to give like a nude, skin-like vibe, but it just did not hit, I feel like, the way she was anticipating that it would. I know that she even did like her hair and makeup to match the kind of like skin tone look. It's just, we could have had a little bit more. We just needed a little more, especially from Doja Cat. Like, she's somebody I expect a lot from when it comes to fashion. But outside of that, that's pretty much everybody that they look nice, but the theme, they didn't match the theme. So let's get into people I expected more from. Now, like I said before, I'm not going to do a worst dressed, whatever, but I do want to discuss people I expected more from. So first up is Serena Williams in she wore Marc Jacobs. I want her to get the fashion thing together so bad. It's just like, there's so much potential that she has, and I don't know, she doesn't have the right team and they don't have the right vision, but she just never hits the nail on the head when it comes to fashion. And she has been a part of the Met Gala for a while now, whether it's being a chair or just attending. And I just feel like every time we see her, regardless, there's just a mark missed. I feel like the team around her does not know how to properly dress her body. They have not identified a style for her, and it's just something missing. Like, even her look as a whole, even if it looked good, which it did not, it didn't go with the theme. So I just want her to get that right so bad. Next is Coleman Domingo. He wore Valentino. I expected a lot more from him because we all know that the Michael movie just came out and he plays Joe Jackson. So for that to be such a huge role, is one of the biggest movies out at the box office right now, and he dresses so well, I just kind of expected him to do a lot more. Next is Nia Long. Same thing with her. She's currently playing Katherine Jackson in the Michael movie. And so with that movie being out right now, and it literally had came out a couple weeks before the Met Gala, I expected a lot more. She looked stunning as usual. She had on a Laquan Smith look, but I just expected more because this is probably the biggest event to happen right after the release of the film. So I definitely expected a lot more. Next, Kim Kardashian. She had on an Alan Jones and Whitaker Maylim look. I think it was an actual art piece. But I expected more from her. I just kind of feel like she kind of always gives us the same thing. And I just expected something different. Not that the piece was not good. It didn't really do much for me because she always gives us body and this and that. So I would have expected or wanted her to do something different. Next is Angel Reese in Altazura. She looked stunning, but the look itself, it didn't give Met Gala. Like, it gave maybe Oscars or Emmys or something like that, but it didn't give Met Gala. Next, Gabrielle Union and Dwayne Wade. I just feel like the team didn't get it. They didn't nail it. It didn't land. Even Dwayne Wade's outfit, it didn't do anything for me. I do feel like pretty much every year the men don't really give much, and Jeremy Pope held it down this year. But with Dwayne Wade, his look really didn't. I was confused on why he had on a vest jacket, and Gabrielle's look, it just wasn't, you know. And then lastly, really, is Anna Wintour. She wore Chanel. I feel like Anna gives us the same look, different color every single year. And I just want her to give us a little bit more. I know, she's probably not really interested in going too crazy because this is her event, basically. And she's older, so she's not probably really interested in doing all of that. But I feel like she kind of gives us the same vibe every single year, different color. But overall, I do feel like a lot of people fell flat. They missed the mark, and it was only a few that did really good, and they all kind of came towards the end. So most of it was kind of just like, okay, who's next? We waiting to see something. But yeah, it was okay. Now, Lala did an amazing job with hosting and interviewing on the cart at the top of the stairs. I love that. Her and Kiki are the top 2 interviewers that the Met Gala has had. What else? I did like the design of inside the tent. Yeah, like, I definitely expected a lot more. Maybe they'll do better next year, especially with Devil Wears Prada just coming out. Like, you would have thought, I don't know. But yeah, that's my take on this year's Met Gala. Let me know in the comments whose look you liked, whose look you didn't like, who you expected more from. And make sure you subscribe to my channel because I'm going to be back consistent with posting videos. I got some vlogs coming soon, and we're going to get back to our sit-down videos too. Also, make sure you follow me on Instagram and TikTok if you're not already. But I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.